Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Memorial of blowing the trumpet. Yeah. And big shout out to everybody celebrating the memorial of blowing the trumpets, man. It's a powerful holiday, especially powerful now in everything that we've been going through and everything that we're dealing with. So big shout out to all the camps, big shout out to all the families, brothers, sisters, officers, captains, everybody, man. I pray that all is well with you and yours. If not, you know you know what to do. Get in touch with the family, find out what you need, find out what's going on, and we'll keep on moving forward. But I give you a little bit. Get Numbers 10 and 1. Numbers 10 and 1. That's the memorial of blowing the trumpets. And the whole memorial of blowing the trumpets, the Lord created for us once we got out of Egypt into that wilderness. We needed those trumpets so that we would know different things. When you're dealing with a massive amount of people, it's just like today. When they want to alert you to something that's happening, like an Amber Alert or something like that, they have everybody's phone start ringing. That's modern electronics, but it's still the blowing of the trumpets, a blowing of trumpets, not the blowing of trumpets, but a blowing of trumpets. And so what we did back then, what the Lord did, was introduced into the nation of Israel a memorial for that blowing of trumpets, a day where we pulled out our horns and pulled all those trumpets out and blew those trumpets all across our land to remind us that to always refer to those trumpets for different things that went on in the earth. The main thing that we referred to those trumpets for was war, because when war came, we blew those trumpets to know that war was coming. Let me read a little bit of it right quick. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shalt thou make them. These was pure silver trumpets. They went and dug up a whole piece of silver, carved it into a trumpet. Thou shalt make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps. Meaning they were for, like I said, when we needed to move all at once or in sections, those trumpets would be blown in a certain way, and the scribes and the priests would know what that meant and move us in those. And I'll show you later on too in another scripture where we actually blew those trumpets in different events on the ground as a people when we were moving. You know, once Moses passed and we was now moving with Joshua all throughout the land of Canaan, we used those trumpets to know when to move and how to move. Because if you didn't have them, people would just be bumping into each other. It'd be chaos and trying to move that many people. That's exactly the same problem that happens when you're going to like the stadium or you're going to a big event. When people don't know how, like they just had not too long ago, they had they had a concert with Beyonce in Chicago. And after the concert, people couldn't get out of the venue. It was packed. It was backed up, unorganized. Well, we didn't have that problem. We let one say, okay, this section here, we blew the trumpet a certain way. That section knew to move. Blew it another way. This section knew to move. And when war came, everybody knew. And so forth and so on. So here's what the Lord said. Let me give it to you. Third verse. Numbers 10 and 3. And when they shall blow with them all of the assembly. So I can get this mouse up off. All of the assembly shall assemble themselves in thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So they would come together, and everybody would come together at the door of the tabernacle. At that time, we was in the wilderness, so we didn't have a temple yet. So the tabernacle, for those that may have not known, was just like a big high main tent that everything was done inside. The sacrifices for the Lord, the Holy of Holies to talk to the Lord, and it was surrounded by like a perimeter on the outside of it. And that front area was considered the door of the tabernacle. And so everybody would gather up before that tabernacle, and the priest would be right there to blow the trumpets. Let me scroll on down to the 4th verse. Here's what it says. It says, and if they blow But with one trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee. So with one blow, they know to gather themselves. He said, when you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east parts shall go forward. And here's the thing. What was so great about this memorial was you had to practice how and when to blow. Today also, they got air raid sirens. Same principle. Air raid sirens is nothing but an electronic horn. When they see the planes coming, they know they're about to be bombed. To let everybody know, Esau unleashes an air raid siren, which helps you helps you know to dip inside and get away before those bombs come down and catch you out in the middle of the street or middle of the airport or wherever it is that they're coming to bomb. You able to get out the way. That was the whole point of it. And so, a certain way that they blew it, which is, again, just like today. There's many ways they turn on a horn and play different stuff. Back then, we played the horn in different ways that would let everybody know what that danger was. And it was very important. It shows you how the Lord wanted us to be right, you understand, when it comes to preparing ourselves and making sure that we are strong and ready and able to come together. Today, we in bad shape. And then we was in bad shape back then in Egypt also. That's why this was implemented when we came out of Egypt. And let me tell you something else too. It's real wise. If you're wise, you would read about these things that was given to us in our law once we got out in the wilderness. And by the Lord giving us these things in the wilderness, that lets you know what we didn't have in ancient Egypt. And you can come back and look at it again today in today's world and realize how much we don't have again. Where is the alarm system for all black people in the event of a major catastrophe, more than likely from another nation that just desires or seeks or has just come to the conclusion that they're going to wipe us out and do us in? Where are those at? You know what I'm saying? Like if you sitting in your house in a major city in the United States and something happens, what is it? Just an Amber Alert? Maybe, or some alert that comes on your phone? What and is everybody taught that? Like it used to be, they used to teach kids in school to prepare in case of a nuclear blast or something like that. To when you hear a certain sound, get under your table. You can look it up on YouTube. Got tons of little videos about it. They'd have to get under their table and prepare for an attack. They don't have that the same thing. They'll give you an alert on the phone, maybe, and maybe you'll get it on time. And furthermore, the Lord did that for us because he didn't want us relying on somebody else to show us these things. And it should still be the same today. Let me read a little more. But when the congregation be gathered together, this is 7th verse. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. 6th verse. When ye blow an alarm the second time, then the camp that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journey. So in other words, when you blow that, when you able to see that the first half of the congregation moved up from the east, you blow again. Now the south can come up and move up into that position. And then they're going to blow other horns among them to show each one of their groups in that south to move forward up. We're a beautiful nation, man. An amazingly beautiful nation when we in our right. When they've abused us and destroyed us and drugged us and incarcerated us and given a murderous rap songs to be our credo, which we didn't create that, they did. You understand? When they destroy us by making incarceration our lifestyle, all the things that make them a profit and keep us destroyed, then of course we're not like that. We're like we are today. Broken, destroyed, on drugs, so forth and so on. And that's why I've been saying for the longest, black people, Latinos, Native Indians, stop blaming yourself. And everybody else, they better stop blaming. That's why they keep blaming us. And if I could interject with this, Charlie Kirk was an expert at blaming us for our suffering. And he would lie. He would out and out lie. You can go look this up. It's all over TikTok, YouTube now. He would out and out lie about the statistics concerning us. He would out and out lie about the DEI hires and how he deemed them so inferior. Like this is what they do and have always done. Blame us, make us out to be filthy, disgusting, short of what is necessary. So why? By lowering us and demeaning us, then they can attack us. And when the Lord got us out in that wilderness, he built us up as a nation. And we should seek to be those people again. Because make no mistake, these prophecies will come to pass. You see it all around you. War breaking out everywhere. Everywhere in the earth, people is going to war. You understand? They changing all the laws in America, all of that. Now's the time. That's why we've been blowing this trumpet. We've been blowing the trumpet on the streets since 69. Since 1969, we've been out on the streets. We've been the trumpet ourselves. We didn't actually blow the shofar necessarily, but we blew the knowledge of the truth as a trumpet, completely warning our people for the last, like again, since 69. And it's been an amazing, righteous, beautiful thing to see for those that understand righteousness. If you could clear your mind from the slave master's propaganda, you could really look at how amazing and beautiful these brothers and sisters have been in all the ways of the Lord, including in the memorial of blowing the trumpet. And that trumpet needed to be blown because we was in danger. Now everybody sees it. Now you see why it was so necessary and why the Lord put it in these scriptures to blow that trumpet. Okay, I don't want to run on. Let me go on. Okay, and here's what it says, 7th verse. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm, because there's a blow that has an alarm in it as well. Let's go to 8th verse right quick. Here's what it says. He says, and the sons of Aaron, the priests, those are the Levites, shall blow the trumpets, and they shall be in you for an ordinance for you forever throughout your generations. So in our generations, it's forever. It's forever and ever and ever. We will always blow those trumpets to warn the people and to remind us of warning the people. I'm blowing the trumpet with you right now, whether you know it or not. Blowing the trumpet of you to come back to your nation, your identity, who you are, you understand, and to warn you that there is danger coming. There's danger without. You understand? The slave masters decided now that he's just intolerant of us. You know what I mean? He's ready to now pretty much do something horrific to us. And the Lord will reveal as time goes on. Let me get you one or two more of these verses right quick. Here's what he said. 9th verse. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, that's what we've been dealing with. We've been being oppressed. Then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your power, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. And let me explain something when it says ye shall be remembered before your Lord, your power. Meaning when that trumpet blows, everybody is supposed to remember that this come from the Lord. Let's go hear what the Lord said. See, this captivity of ours has been the absolute worst captivity a man could be in, because this captivity that we are in now is the first captivity where we don't know who we are. It is the first time that we have been buried so deep into this earth that blacks, Latino, and Native Indians do not know that they're the 12 lost tribes of the children of Israel. So we in a bad place, because once that horn is blown, all this time of prophesying since 1969, that horn and the literal horn of there's danger outside, once that horn is blown, every man, woman, and child is supposed to know this is the Lord calling for us. They're like, these priests are doing this because they're the priests. They're the men that understand what has happened to us, or is about to happen. So they're supposed to say, yo, blow the trumpet. And we're supposed to know, yo, that comes from the priests, which means they know, based on what the Lord have taught us, that there's danger on the outside. And once again, this is why America is failing as well, because you're supposed to have high moral people in charge of the country. The children of Israel had priests who had high morals and were there to carry out the Lord's word for the safety of the nation. So these priests would blow these trumpets out whenever danger came, whenever we needed to be assembled to hear what the Lord had to say, whenever there was a crisis or whatever situation came. And today you got politicians being bought off. You got people changing the laws. You got people doing all kinds of things in this Greco-Roman Empire. And that's why it's been a mess. And that's why now they're just basically having a fire sale and selling off the whole country to the highest bidder. You understand? Because they know that they're about to just crash out on the entire system eventually. And here we are. But the children of Israel, these laws and statutes and commandments, like the Lord said, they're to be in our generations forever. You can't never change these laws. You can never, ever, ever, 1,000 years from now, you won't be able to change these laws. And that's a beautiful thing, because that's what humans need to function. It's what people need to function. So the Lord gave us that way back then, almost 4,500 years ago, and we carried it out. You know what I mean? And we loved it. And let me just say this. Let me just get the 10th verse real quick, last verse on this part. Also, in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices. See, so even during the regular high holy days, which you see, those of you that follow us, you know that every high holy day we blowing the trumpet every time a brother comes up, every time a brother comes down. A brother has to pull his registry. That's also what you see going on during the Passover, which is very important. A lot of footage of that out. We blew those trumpets. You know what I mean? And those trumpets was an integral part of how we operated as one, being such a large group of people. So they like to act like we were civilized and savages and so forth. No, we were totally the opposite. We were totally complete and organized. I mean, we was organized 4,000 years ago when they were basically living in the caves like cavemen and beating each other over the head with a club. Well, we were already organized and deep down, into the deserts of the Middle East and Sinai and Egypt, and in those areas, man. We built those empires. We made those empires great back then. So we always were highly civilized, always had high character, high morals. This is something, nobody beat us over the head to have this. You didn't need a police force for us to do this. We did this by serving the Lord. We added this to us. We didn't have to add it. We could have been savages, but we was not. We added instead greatness to ourselves. And so now, as we start to get away from this man, after 400 years of trying to bring that grace and harmony and brotherhood and sisterhood to a man that never wanted it, now we sitting here in a situation where now that man wants to kill us. And Christ said this. He said, cast not your pearls among swine, lest he trample upon them and turn and rend you. That's what we did. We took the greatness of the Lord, the greatness of the Bible, the greatness of righteousness, of our singing, our dance, and our spirit, all 12 tribes across North, Central, and South America. We took that greatness and we tried our best to get our slave master to love us in that way. We showed him nothing but kindness and love and all those things. And for all that we did, all he sought back was how to destroy us, enslave us, profit off of us, benefit off of us. He was close to his most basic instincts, and he has never left it. And that's why you see it happening again today. He was close to those instincts, and those instincts have never left him. And here we are. And that's why we're here now in this situation with him. Let me get another one right quick. Let me get, what I got here. Let me get numbers. Book of Numbers. Let's see what I got up there. Bear with me one real quick, y'all. Numbers. All right. Real quick. This is Numbers 31:16. Okay. I'm sorry, I said 16. Let me go back to 1 real quick, fam. Let's get 1. Numbers 31:1. Here's what the Lord said. This is also when we were in the wilderness under Moses, following the Lord's statutes and commandments, trying to do what it is that the Lord said to do. Moses was leading us through that wilderness. Here's what happened. And the Lord said this. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people. Okay. So they went then, the Lord called for them to avenge ourselves on the Midianites. The Midianites had done all types of horrible things to us. Okay. Tried to enslave us, tried to block us. They went and got together with the Moabites, tried to kill us all in the wilderness. Half of that is why we had to go so far around to get to our own land. So here's what he said. So Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Lord of Midian. Avenge the Lord of Midian. Numbers 31:4. Of every tribe 1,000, throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. Numbers 31:5. So there was delivered out of the thousands of Israel 1,000 of every tribe. That's 12,000 people. 12,000 armed for war. So these brothers got all armed up, ready to go to battle, right? And here's what he said. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, to the war. And with the holy instruments and the trumpets, to blow in his hands. So he had the holy instruments and he had that trumpet because they was going to war. That trumpet was integral in everything that we did. 7th verse, 31:7. And they warred against the Midianites. And as the Lord, hold on, y'all, let me just open this up wider. No, that don't help. They warred against the Midianites. And as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. And they slew all the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rekem, and Zur and Hur and Reba. They killed a lot of kings and they men. 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also, the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. That Balaam of Beor, that is the same God, the same religion, the same people that the Roman Catholic Church follows today. That's where you get Baal from. That's where you get the worship of Satan from. From that same group of people right there that tried to curse Israel. The 9th verse. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midianites and captives and their little ones, and took the spoil of their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. Oh, they was living good on our land. They was living top notch on our land, and the Most High said, burn it all down. And that's what we did while blowing those trumpets, while bringing our people together in those trumpets, just like we were supposed to do. Let me get another one real quick. All right. All right. Let me read this. Bear with me a second, y'all. All right. Everybody know about Gideon. Gideon had to go to war with the Midianites as well, because the Midianites, once again, had us in captivity, was extorting us horribly. Midianites would come every year and take all of our harvest, just like the British did to their own subjects, and so many other European countries. Those European countries were the greediest bastards you ever met. I mean, they had slaves in the Caribbean, slaves in the Americas, because remember, they owned part of the Americas at certain times too. Spain, England, Portugal, they owned part of America. And they had slaves and their own people in the most horrible conditions back then. as well as in the Caribbean, and they still extorted their people that were in their land up in Europe. So anyway, they came up against Gideon. So here's what it says, 19th verse. So Gideon and the 100 men, that was when the Lord finally broke them down to 100 men that were with him, came onto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. We had different watches when men would sit on the wall or stand on the hill and be watching to see if the enemy makes a move so they can blow the trumpet and let everybody know. And they had but newly set the watch, and they blew the trumpets and break the pitchers that were in their hands. They had pitchers in their hand, and he broke those pitchers. Okay, and disturbed the Midianites. Let me read the 20th verse. And shook up the camp of the Midianites. And here's what happened. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers and held the lamps in their hands and the trumpets in their right hands to blow withal. And they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And brother, they went to town on the Midianites. The Midianites had did us so dirty, the Lord sent them back. That's why no nation should do any evil towards the children of Israel, because the Lord will avenge you. I don't care how powerful you become or what you become. The Most High don't care about none of that. The Lord will turn around and, take your whole country out. Take your people out. You'll be thinking you on your way to victory, and you'll be on your way to destruction. The Egyptians had so much power over us. I mean, we feared the Egyptians like you never would believe. We feared those Egyptians. Every single time they saw the army of the Egyptians, nobody wanted nothing to do with them. They were vicious. They was fierce. They would kill, harm, rape, rob, murder, whatever. They was a vicious bunch of people. And once again, now, of course, they make Egypt look to be some holy place and some place of greatness now, because there's plenty of money to be made off of at least it used to be plenty of money to be made off of the tourism of Egypt. So they had to portray Egypt as such a wonder and a splendor. But the reality is the Egyptians were some of the greatest slave traders you ever met, and they used those slaves, us, to build their entire empire. And that's why it became so great and full of so much splendor. We were the ones doing all of the inventions, and we were the ones doing all the labor, and we were the ones doing all the farming. You can see it all over the tombs of Egypt, in the king's chambers, in all those places. You can see thousands of slaves painted on the wall, black and brown, so-called black and brown people on those walls that did all that work. Well, guess what? Here we are again in America. If you were to paint a picture of the landscapes of America, you would see vast amounts of farmlands, and you would have pictures of blacks and Latinos, well, mostly Latinos now, in the fields picking cotton and so forth. But make no mistake, black people picked plenty of cotton, plenty of everything else that they had out there. They try to make it like it was only cotton. And even that is kind of a way to demoralize us. What do we only pick cotton and there was we didn't have no food growing? They're liars. When you go back and read into the history of the slaves, we picked everything. We picked rice, we picked fruit, we picked everything. We picked greens and lettuce and collard greens and corn. We picked everything. And so did our Latino brothers. So that's what you would find on the walls. And when you go back and look in Egypt, exact same thing. Exact same thing. They just want slaves here. And they want slavery to be back instituted. They felt like they had it better then. And it's their fault. And here's why it's their fault. It's their fault because they did not allow themselves to completely crush the South. Had they crushed the South and forced them to not keep that philosophy, then the South would have properly joined the East, the North would have been forced to join the North, and America would have been one cohesive country, and they would have realized that it was no longer necessary to have slaves. But now that the empire is falling, now they want to get slavery back going again. Because why? They need the money. They need the help. They need the free labor. They need to have an advantage on their enemies. So that's why all this is being brought back. But it's also being brought back because the Lord is bringing it back to give us an urgency to come together and to get away from them during this time so that we can go on and serve in the Lord. So that's what that was all about, and bringing out, Get in. Let me get another one right quick for you, all right? This will be Psalms. Let's go to Psalms, fam. All right? Let's see what we got. All right, Psalms 98. Here's what the Lord said. Now, this is a song from David, and David was singing about our nation, something we should be joyous about, especially tonight. Again, big shout out to everybody that is joining in with the memorial of blowing the trumpets. Hope everybody's getting great understanding of it. Hope everybody's moving in that right direction, man. Doing the will of the Most High. Camp's looking great, doing the service in all your locations, man. Great speaking today. Great harmony among the brotherhood. And great understanding in why it's so important to us and why it's so important that and how valuable it has been to us as a people that the Lord allowed us to find our identity. That in itself is an amazing achievement. We've been able to find out who we are, and that is no small matter. So let's read. Psalms 98 and 5. Here's what it says. Sing unto the Lord with the harp, and the voice of a psalms. 6th verse. With trumpets and sounds of coronet, make a joyful noise before the Lord, the King. 98 and 7. Let the sea roar, and the fullness thereof of the world, and they that dwell therein. 8th verse. Let the floods clap their hands. Let the hills be joyful together. This was always our way. Before the Lord, for he cometh to judge the earth with righteousness. Shall he judge the world and the people with equity? Let me tell you something. That's where we should be in that direction. We should be pulling ourselves together to be joyful at the day that's coming, at the judgment that's coming. Everybody act like they want the rapture. You don't want the rapture. We want the rapture. We want the day where there's peace on earth, real peace on earth. You understand, among all the nations, and most importantly, that our king get to rule this earth and put his people in charge of all the nations so they don't rise up and do the same nonsense and almost obliterate the daggone planet like they're attempting to do now. This is going to be an amazing feat and an amazing day when he sets us up in that judgment. And those trumpets are going to be a part of it, a major part of it. As I'm sure you've read many times in Revelation, that trumpet was major in all that we had gone through. So, man, put that joy aside on, man. Enjoy the memorial of blowing the trumpets, brothers and sisters, man. Lord allow, we'll see y'all all soon. We got the California cookout. Look that up real quick. And we're going to move on right on to the Passover, helping and raising our people up and getting ourselves back on track, man. I love you all, man. I appreciate you all. In the name of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, stand strong in this hell. Shalom.